Does I?
I say.
So, whenever you're ready.
Whenever we're ready.
Are you going to have the earphones on the whole time?
Do you want to sing us in? We've been getting guests to do musical intros.
What's the...
It's like little jingles. Dun, 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 dun. Hashtag bedtime.
So I can do any...
No,
any
go
jingle.
for it.
Any jingle.
Any jingle.
Any jingle.
As long as it's like PG. PG-10.
Beer. Time. Beer time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's, believe it or not, it's hashtag beer time. And I have the, would I say, fortunate task of sitting with a dear friend, an old buddy, as in we've had the privilege of knowing each other for quite some time now. Get your hand off my knee. For the people listening, for the people watching, hello, welcome back. I am with the man, the legend. Soon, well, let's just say one day he'll be an even bigger legend. But ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me talk about him many times before. He's back on hashtag beer time. Let me stop talking. Hello, Roscoe.
Yay, I'm back. You couldn't keep away.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll try and get through this interview as quickly as possible. I apologize if you've chosen this podcast for your
play up to the crowd.
For your
You've
listening
missed
pleasure. Let's just hey, maybe we'll find a gem in this episode. Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn.
Well, you've got 5 gems right in front of you. Yeah, that's
Let's get straight into it, Roscoe. You are a brewer.
Finally, an accomplished brewer of sorts. I wouldn't say I've only got no awards or anything, but I'll get the awards one day. Maybe I'll get a Noddy badge or participation award. Those are the best.
Those are the best. So
it makes me feel so warm and fuzzy.
You have, we have 5 beers in front of us, but you actually make a few more. These are the ones that you currently have on tap. Let's just get straight into it. We can talk about your brewery.
So the way I tell a lot of people to do is to go from obviously the lightest to the darkest colors. I go from a Witbier, which I brew with coriander seeds as well as orange peels in my fermentation tank, and it's brewed with a bit of Pilsen malt and wheat. And we move on to the next one, which is a lager.
Well, we'll get onto that. Let's I'm thirsty.
You're thirsty? Okay, well then take a first sip of that golden nectar.
Think it and sink it.
Just lekker.
What do people say when you tell them that you've added in things that aren't supposed to go in there? That like
they actually go like bug-eyed when they hear about coriander seeds. They're like, what? Why are you using like a form of like a cooking ingredient? And I keep telling them like brewing is like baking essentially. You follow a recipe and you make sure that if you follow that recipe to the T, you come out with something lekker.
This is quite a light beer. What it's
Funny
light.
enough.
It's light in body. It's light in alcohol.
No, it's my heaviest alcoholic beer.
Really?
Yeah, 5.6 ABV.
Jeepers! It really feels light. And I mean,
almost said 5.6 kgs, but that's not.
That'll never happen. Okay, wow.
That.
So you've actually that's quite a curveball because
you wouldn't think it.
It feels light. It's got a beautiful smell. The taste is kind of it's got a very summery, spritzy kind of note to it. It's almost
it's a Belgium Witbier style.
Yeah.
So it's got that breakfast beer type accolade towards it, because the whole thing is when I was overseas traveling and I was in Prague and I asked for a Bloody Mary, but the language barrier was a bit difficult with the oak.
Oh, okay.
I said alcohol, but and like
I'm sure he spoke beautiful English, and he just thought, "What's an absolute wally?"
And he brought me this instead, and it's actually I found the beer was called Einstock. It's an Icelandic brewery.
Yes, I think we've had that on hashtag beer time before. We've had 1 or 2 cans. It's with the Viking.
Yes, with the Viking, and it's from Iceland. They brewed this Witbier, or I think they call it something else. They call it like a Wit ale.
Yeah, I'd have to check.
But I found this clone recipe on Beersmiths, and I thought, let me try my best as a home brewer. I brewed it, and I gave it to my father, and my father said, "This is lekker.
Yeah.
I want you to brew this on the big guy."
Go
so
ahead.
I was like,
Permission
let me do
granted.
it. So big ups to my father for trusting me. It's his new favorite beer, and it's actually quite like a crowd pleaser. It's actually after our lager, our second best
Like you.
I try to please the crowd.
You're only one beer in, and it's just I can feel
Just
it's,
a couple
it's
of
a,
sips.
it's a slippery slope. Okay, so I must admit that 5.6 has thrown me quite a bit. So it's obviously shows, or it's a bit of a showcase in terms of what kind of beers you make here. You've gone for nothing heavy. You've gone for beers that are conditioned to that warm South African climates.
Look, to be honest, I'm not a master brewer. I've got a consultant who comes in, and when we were divulging about these recipes, I come up with the recipes, I give it to him, and then he advises me as to what we should do accordingly to the consumer.
Sure.
So he said to me when we were making, especially our last two beers, the stouts, says, no one in South Africa drinks a heavy beer. Yeah. That was his. He is an SAB master brewer, so
ex-SAB.
Ex-SAB. And he just says, if you're going on this route of trying to educate people and trying to get more people to drink different varieties of beer, try and make it a little bit lighter just to help assist with the process. And then once the countries become adamant that they are stout drinkers, like the Irish are, then give the heavy density beer. But I can safely say that, yes, I would love to make this dark stout super heavy and try replicate as close to a tribute beer to Guinness as I can. But I'm brewing it in a light sense of body so that when you drink it, yes, you get a bit of that creaminess, and yes, you can taste some of the notes, but you're not going to get that heavy density that you would get in a Guinness.
It's making me think about people's perception of craft beer and what's you with your two sides, with the consumer and then the brewer. We're talking craft brewers now who fall in love with brewing beer and then start making the beers that they want to make, like an Imperial IPA or a Russian Imperial Stout or anything that's verging on the extreme side of beer when you look at it from the consumer point of view, because a lot of those beers are quite daunting and quite overwhelming for someone who's maybe dipping their toe in the craft beer world or outside of the mainstream beer world. So what I'm trying to say is it's good that there are brewers like you who are trying to create that stepping stone. We've always spoken about it on the show, like creating that stepping stone for the mainstream lager drinker to come into the craft beer world and to play around. And I suppose you are making it easier for them. Well, you're not scaring them off with
and that's the
with
thing.
the 16%.
For me, it was, I think, for people that are well established. Look, let's be honest. If you're a Devil's Peak or you're like a CBC, those guys can afford to brew a specialized beer because their mass market consumption is coming from, their lagers and their other styles of beer that they got, sales for.
Yeah.
I'm a brew pub that's just not even a year old.
Yeah.
My biggest seller is obviously a lager because of the, lack of knowledge about different beer styles and different varieties of the beer. And I do my best to educate people, and giving a tasting board like this. I'm actually also launching a beer food board, hopefully soon. Not this weekend, but the next.
Are you going to call it Chop and Dop?
I should.
Hey? Do it. I think you should.
Unfortunately, there's no chops on there.
Oh.
But the beer food board is actually, I've taken after the Belgium style of brewing. So they also like to do a cheese and beer pairing. So I've just taken it one step further, and I've put a bit of a cured meat with it. And what I'm doing is I'm doing my VIT, I'm doing my APA, and I'm doing my dark stouts, and I'm pairing it with different cheeses and different cured meats.
Nice.
Especially with the APA, I've got a spiced cheese and a peri peri, or like a spicy chorizo, and I'm allowing the spiciness of those two elements to go with the hops of the APA, and it's like fireworks in your mouth.
So it sounds like you're not. There might be some perception. There might be people out there, and I've seen it before, where people think, oh, these guys are just making this craft brewery, in inverted commas, or making a lager, and they're just trying to make a quick buck. But two things about that: you're making a lager, you're selling some, but you're also giving the visitor an option to drink a stout, a pale ale, a Wits, something so that they can start experimenting.
You've got to stay true to yourself when you start a brewery, to be honest.
It's, I think a lot of people are quite, what's the opposite of complimentary? They're quite
Conservative?
critical. They hand out criticism.
Oh, we got two different. Complimentary, conservative, critical.
Yes. In terms of, you either have to be a full-on craft brewer, or you have to be a big mainstream lager brewer. And I like that there's a bit of grey area, and that you're mixing it up, and that you can introduce. You're trying to look at the end of the day. What I'm trying to do with #BeerTime, and I think maybe a lot of the craft brewers, is that you're trying to draw in that 99% of the beer drinker in South Africa into the different world of craft. And however you do that, whether it's making Russian Imperial Stouts or making a little bit more slightly sweeter malty lager, like you guys, it's drawing in, it's bringing people in and opening their minds in terms of what beer can be and what they should be tasting in a beer.
Look, let's be honest. It's when you embark.
Let's be honest.
When you embark on something like this, you have to use a crap ton of capital to invest into. Not only, I don't consider myself a micro. I consider myself a nano brewery. I brew 3,200 liters. That's my max capacity.
How many?
I've got
tanks?
6 fermenters. 75 hectoliters, but
so 750 mils. So 750 liters.
Yeah, 750 liters.
Okay.
But what I do is I brew. You got to leave headspace. So I brew for at least 150 liters of headspace.
So 600. Okay.
So I'm just making sure that I'm not being left with a bit of an explosion. I had a bit of an incident when I first started.
Yes, I think I recall. But that's 20 kegs, and that's not a.
No, it's good. It's actually, it works out to be on average around about 19 to 22, depending on when you are kegging and how we're kegging and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you do lose out a lot with the yeast when you disposing of it, and in my opinion, with a 20 keg average sort of brewery, it's not. I don't have 120 kegs. I've actually got 90 kegs, and I'm just rotating them.
Yeah.
I'm making sure that that I've got enough sales that I can brew once a week and keg 20 kegs every week. And we're just very lucky in the sense that I've got 2 outlets. I've got a brew pub and I've got a coffee shop, and we sell at both. And the nice thing is that not a lot of people have that option. I do. So we went into this business with the idea of understanding that we've got 2 outlets.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people do that. Some people go into the business of just brewing beer to distribute.
Push out,
and to try and brew volume. That was never my intention. My intention was to brew beer that I like, brew beer to educate, brew a beer that is a destination for people to enjoy. And located in the Midlands.
And it's working so far.
So far, we're enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's look.
That's the other thing I want to say. You're also doing cheese boards, which beer and food pairing. Yeah. And that's also another step into that realm
if the winemakers can do it, why can't the beer breweries do it?
Hey, you preaching to the converted here, but let's. We actually went on quite a ramp
That was
rampage
lekker.
there. That was a chat and a half. Let's move on to our next beer,
Yep.
which they've been sitting here for a while, but I gave it a little bit of a sneaky sniff, and I want you to tell me about this. This, from what I gather, from what the viewers listening and watching, this is a lager. It's got a bit of a honey smell.
This is actually Lara's Craft Lager.
Okay, so
This is not my typical lager that I normally brew.
okay, so this is a once-off batch.
This is a...
Tell me more about this.
So Lara's Craft Lager, it is a tribute brew. We sort of came across her, my father, who's a cardiothoracic surgeon, unfortunately met with her through unfortunate circumstances, and she was kind of on her deathbed, and there was nothing that they could really do to help her. And prior to the launch of the brewery, she actually asked my father if she could be, named after one of our beers. And, my father was so taken aback that she was so, that she wanted to be a part of this brewery culture that we've got. And, the character that my father described, I'd never met her, but the way that he described her to me, she was just a jovial person, and she was just had such a zest for life, and so she was just excited, loved the bush, was athletic, had tennis and hockey under her belt, and she was so keen just to travel and experience things, and she talked a lot.
She likes it.
She sunk it back.
She was a Durban girl.
Durban girl, and I think she went to Rhodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool.
So those people know how to drop hard. So what we did was, our lagers are normally 4.6% percentage of alcohol, ABV, and now we made this one 5.2. We just added extra malts towards it, just to give it a little bit more sweetness.
It's got a bit of honey sweetness. It's beautiful.
That's coming from the malts that we've used. And the thing is, the reason for that is...
It's almost like a honey blonde. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the Mitchell's honey blonde.
Yes.
Which... you could put a few of those back. But sorry, I interrupted.
No worries. The whole reason why the sweetness is coming through is that, having spoken to her father, and I had a couple of just phone conversations and then face-to-face meetings, and he was just kept saying how she's the sweetest girl ever.
Okay.
So I kind of portrayed it in the sweetness of the...
I see what you did there.
Just subtleties,
there.
It's like a subconscious level type thing. Look,
so you've done this tribute lager for a person.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you finished before I...
No. So what I was saying is that we actually just launched it last week, Friday.
Yeah.
We've done a bunch of cases for retail, and I've still got a whole bunch of kegs left, and I've got about 32 case orders to uphold. And, her father was very adamant to say that if it grows legs, I hope that we can contribute towards her charity. In which I said to him that every bottle we sell 10% of each retail bottle towards her charity.
That's awesome.
Which is, at the end of the day, life is short, eh? She was 24, gone at such a young age, and to think that, we're contributing to a charity for someone that was just apparently the essence of life. Just so happy. Yeah. I feel good about it. Yes, there's lots of charities out there, but this was a brew made for her, and it came onto our laps, and we're making it for this person, and that's why a charity's going. A percentage goes to her charity.
We've broached on the subject before on #beertime, and that is the subject of businesses. Well, let's narrow it down. Breweries who have an extra interest at heart, who care about the environment, who care about endangered species, who care about food wastage. But I mean, people are welcome to correct me if they know someone in a brewery in South Africa, but I don't know if there's been a tribute beer, a beer dedicated to one person and that's sold commercially. Anyway, but I think, it goes on with that story of having a story behind a beer, and I hope it does get legs. And it's not. I don't think I know you guys aren't doing it this way, but it's not in order to make a quick buck or in order to get marketing or look at us like this. This is, but in actual fact, this is what I hope does happen, where people like start to take a notice. Like, cool, this is great. You guys are actually doing. You're giving 10% of these proceeds that are going to a charity, and I think that goes a long way in showing what kind of brewery you are and what kind of message you want to hand out to your drinkers, to your consumers.
Like, I'm not the only oak who thinks like this. This first things first out there is, I mean, if you see Darling Brewery, they've got this whole nature conservation type charity where a percentage of their beers go to all the endangered species that they put onto their labels of their beer. I don't know about the other breweries, but I know that everyone is softy at heart in this brewing community, in my opinion. Like, they've got a lot of passion for the culture. They've got a lot of passion for, supporting supporting each other. I mean, I'm a part of a sort of brewing group, and they very complimentary.
I think we all are. I think everyone listens to this as part of some brewing group.
But what I enjoy about that brewing group is just reading the positivity in it.
Yeah.
And when someone has a question, they post it onto this group, and then there's not only one person, there's about 20 people that answers the question and helps each other get better and to assist with their problems at hand and to just answer the questions. Like, some person was asking about gas, how we can go from a big cylinder to a smaller cylinder.
Yeah.
If it was dangerous or not. And some people were posting funny pictures of blown up things, and it was just one of those sort of groups that it's nice to be a part of.
You're touching on a whole nother subject, which is community based knowledge or understanding or community narrative.
It's upstairs. Sorry, that's just the business line going off. Hi, can I have 10 cases?
Wow, just a regular order, hey? Sure, you can come pick it up a little bit.
Oh, I'll just deliver that tomorrow.
Roscoe the next morning. Hey. So it goes back onto the whole community-driven answers or communal narrative. I've been coming up with all these interesting, like little two-word. What do you call them?
Conjunction words.
Yeah. Anyway, I must. It just come to me. But I must stop it. Because I think I'm being serious. That's what we need in South Africa is the narrative needs to be communal. We all need to be on the same kind of page, or dare I say it, WhatsApp group. I can think of nothing worse. all of us in one WhatsApp
Modern
group.
technology.
But I like that where people are coming together with a communal answer, because I think it does drive a community, drive a micro industry like craft beer together. Okay, let me stop rambling and move on to our next beer.
Yay!
But I hope so people can come and buy the tribute Lara's Craft.
If we do not have stock, what we'll do is we take orders, and we basically brewed 1,200 liters of the stuff.
And if it sells out, then maybe some more.
We might just do it, yeah. I mean, I've had a restaurant actually ask me if they could keg it.
Oh, very cool.
Which is, again, he was... tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock. Kitchen closes at 9. Business. It's business time. So to go back to Laura's Craft, we brewed 1,200 liters of the stuff. We kegged about 10 kegs of it. Sorry, we kegged 20. We kegged one fermenter. We got another fermenter's worth, and we only bottled 10 kegs worth. But I've got requests for another 10 kegs worth of cases.
Cool.
So I've got another 20 kegs left of it, and like I said, if it grows legs, it grows legs, and we'll see.
Good luck. Thank you. Congrats on doing something beyond brewing, which I think is admirable.
Thank you.
Not something I would associate with you.
Sorry.
Even I'm taken aback.
I'm gobsmacked. Is this me? Who am I?
Let's move on to the third beer. Tell me about this.
This is
I'm guessing it's an ale.
This is an ale.
Okay.
This is an English bitter ale. It was actually a beautiful mistake.
Ooh.
I was trying to actually clone the Sam Adams lager out in the States, in Boston there. I visited there and I tasted it and I thought it was so lekker. But being a home brewer, I started brewing and I had all my ingredients, but I forgot about the lager yeast. And I thought, whatever, bro. I'll just put an ale yeast in. And it actually just changed the entire flavor and the profile of the beer. And when I had my sort of master brewer consult on this beer to me, I was like, I like it. It's not a lager.
So did he steer you into this direction?
He said to me, this tastes like a bitter ale, an English bitter ale. I'm like, well, that's quite lekker then. I'm glad that I've come up with something, because it's brewed with 6 varieties of malts.
There's a little bit of that bitterness that comes through.
But I do use a crap ton of hops in it, because I was wanting to get a bitter beer, a bitter lager. But that's why it's called the English bitter ale, because of obviously the ale yeast strains are creating a different fermentation for it. This is sitting at about 4.8 ABV. My lager is actually the lightest, like I said to you, it's 4.2. And or 4.6, I can't remember now. I think it was 4.2, but this is 4.8, and I was quite happy with it. You know, there's a British community in KZN, hey? It's a very English community.
Yeah,
it's
so I would imagine that having an English bitter is.
Look, I mean, you're talking about South Africa here.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter if you English community or not.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to go for the lager.
Yeah.
So it's just because that's how we've been brought up with the commercial brewers. But again, like, you have people, I mean, the area that we live in, we're a destination place. We are a Midlands, we like the Franschhoek, we like the Paul or whatever, the CBC. People come here on weekends. So for people to come from Joburg and Durban and Free State and wherever that's like an hour or 3 hours drive away, they come here and they spend a weekend and they come to enjoy this. Just like how you would go to Delstrom from Joburg and you can enjoy that whiskey tasting room and Anvil Ale House. This is the whole idea here. We've got Notty's Brewery down the road.
I still need to go there.
You must. It's amazing. It
was in our documentary.
It was in our documentary, and Theo's actually just retired.
Yeah, the legend. He's retired.
He's amazing. He gave me some of his special brews, and it was just awesome.
Yeah.
But again, going on to this English bitter ale, I've had a few customers say to me like, "Shit, you know, where did this come from?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll tell you about my beautiful mistake."
You tell them about the mistake.
Yeah, I tell them about the mistake, and they quite appreciate the fact that something good can come from mistakes.
Well, look, I always say, like, if you can if you've got some brewing experience, and then over some time, then you make a mistake, and so long as you do the basics right. Hey, if people are drinking it and it doesn't always have to conform to BJCP. It doesn't always have to conform to that specific ingredient. That recipe. But like I said, so long as the basics are done, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with coming out with a hybrid, a mutation.
But I was just like, again, I expected one thing and I got another, and it was just awesome. I think that's why I like brewing beer, although it's quite frowned upon if you change your recipes mid-brew.
Oh. Well, let's just you don't want to say you put in something on tap and then something else comes out.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the next 2 beers.
Yes.
And let's talk about that, but let's also talk about, because for those of you who still haven't picked this up, I actually have traveled to Roscoe's Farm, which is in the Midlands, the KZN Midlands, that's KwaZulu-Natal. we might get some shots. I don't know how fancy this production is, but we might get some shots showing you what I'm looking out at right now, and it's beautiful. We've got the Drakensberg right in the distance. We've got rolling hills. We've got animals. We've got stock cattle, Nguni cows. Is that Nguni cows?
Nguni and Nkoli.
And Nkoli cows out, and we've got some llamas. Looks like, I don't know. There's just animals. It's beautiful. The sun is setting. Everything is perfect, except Roscoe keeps coming into view. So that's
all I'm thinking is that it might not be the morning, but there's definitely a glory here.
Oh, yeah. See, I can actually see all the stats. All the people just logging.
What did he just say?
All the people just logging.
What did he just say?
I can't believe this is happening. So. Yes, I'm in the Midlands. I'm here for some CBSA work and a wedding on the weekend. And I thought, you know what? Let's get Roscoe on #beertime. It's been a while. You've been very busy. We've been very busy. But apart from you running your business, me running my business,
our friendships have still...
Our friendship
that stayed very warm. The fire keeps burning. I didn't start the fire.
Hey, we need music rights for that. Have you heard? There's a. I'm going to talk about this, but there's a podcast that I listened to, and they took previous known songs, but they changed some of the words, and they changed the beat a little bit, so you could still recognize it, but it was quite funny. Anyway,
trust me, they wanted to take us down for Vorsalicious. So yeah.
If people don't know what we're talking about, we made a video for...
Try YouTube it. I don't think it's there anymore.
Ultimate Braai Master. We uploaded a music video called Vorsalicious to the beat of Fergalicious, obviously, but yeah, they didn't like that.
Good times.
Those were very good times. I think we've aged since then. Maybe not. Let's move on to the next beer. I want you to tell me about it, and I want us to also talk about Brewing the Republic.
Okay. So, let me just quickly give you a spiel about the two beers. They're both stouts. Obviously,
It didn't look like a stout.
No. So this was another little mistake of mine. Although this is a proper mistake, should I say? I wasn't going to try and replicate a stout in a little homebrew system. I was going to try and do it on my fancy smanchy machine. When I was brewing the beer, and I was sort of like coming up with the recipe. I wanted to do a red Irish stout, like a little tribute to Kilkenny.
Okay.
I thought that the caramel malt I was putting in was a bit too much for the SRM. And, when I put it in, I was like, see, this is dark.
Okay.
When I was actually in the mash tun, I was like, this is dark. How's this going to come out? And then it actually throughout the whole process, and then in the fermentation, it diluted the color scheme, should I say.
Yes.
So it's come out quite light, which we brewed another batch. It's in the fermentation tank, and it's a lot darker, which I'm happy about. And for me, I really appreciate that. I went above and beyond to install sort of stout dispensing taps, as well as dispense it through nitrogen, a 60% and 40% CO2, just so I can give it that extra creaminess.
So I'm trying to wrap my brain in terms of the 60-40, but just for the people listening, that's where different percentages of CO2 and nitrogen, because you want some bubble.
You have to have a bit
also
of that.
It's also got to do with temperature in whether it's kept in a cauldron.
That too.
That's I can't recall it. I'm a bit hazy.
From my limited experience of brewing stouts, having been to Ireland and drunk a lot of Guinness there.
Yes.
I drank too much.
Yes. That's okay.
That's impossible. You can never drink too much Guinness in Ireland. But when I was there, I did the Guinness tour, and I spoke to a lot of the Irish people, and I'm like, why does it just taste so much better here? And they're like, because we dispense it through nitrogen. And I'm like, okay. And then doing my research, they actually have a Guinness tank.
Yeah.
Gas tank, where it's 70% nitrogen and 30% CO2. And having to go through Afrox and other different gas supplies, They don't do that. They don't do 70-30. Only Guinness allows it. So the best way I can do is a 60-40. And look, I'm happy. I'm happy that it does give it that sort of creaminess. It does give it the extra oomph that I wanted. But I brewed it light because, again, I didn't want to scare customers away. A lot of people, when they think stouts and they think dark stout, they think milk stouts.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh no, that's like eating 2 loaves of bread. And I'm like,
So you have to educate them and show
trust
them.
me, drink this, just have a taste of it. I even give them just a little tipple. And they're like, oh, that's quite light. And I'm like, yeah, because I brewed it. So I've got the notes, I've got the creaminess, but it's not as heavy. Because, I brewed it with, the same amount of malt as I would normally do with other recipes. And that was just my
It
thing.
reminds me of a cream ale. It reminds me of I chatted about it on last week's show. It reminds me of a Worthington's or a Brain's cream ale, which is obviously that's a lot more creamy, but this is it's almost version on that. But I see what you're saying, trying to get. In terms, I think with the stouts, I've made a white stout before, creamy, smooth. I even put some coffee in there, but it was still white.
And flaked oats at all? Because that's what I've come across, is that the more flaked oats you can put in, which is very expensive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the more you put in, the creamier it actually does become.
Yes. From what I've read, and this is, we're talking homebrew now, but like I know that you don't want to put in obviously too much because you get that glutinous stickiness which could clog the mash. So I know when I was doing homebrewed,
it's just more the expenses now. If you're talking about this,
for you, yeah.
Look, it's the cleaning regime that we uphold in this brewery is quite regimental. I mean, we do the caustic, the sanitizer, the hot water flush. Like, I know some people just want to do caustic and hot water, and then they feel that's fine. But I've gone through that unfortunate experience of going to the Southeasters homebrewers competition.
With your homebrew,
With my homebrew.
Not with your commercial thing.
No, not with my commercial, but with my homebrew. And I learned a very valuable lesson. Do not skip out on sanitizing.
Yep.
Yeah, pride went down the drain there.
Pride went straight down the drain. Thank goodness I wasn't there. I think I was out of the country at the time.
No, that was tough. Luckily, it was a red tent, so you couldn't see me blushing the whole time.
So with this beer, I mean, going forward, what would you do to change it?
I would add a lot more of the Cara Red that I've got. So I get all my malts from Belgium. I import it. I've got a supply in Cape Town, and what I do is obviously I try to utilize the machine as best as possible. And yeah, for me, I would omit maybe a bit more pale because I've got that as a base malt, and I would add in more of the Cara Red. And in fact, I would actually add more flaked oats, even though it's more expensive. This is the thing. It's like I'm here to make quality. I'm here to change minds. I'm here to educate, and I'm here to be lekker.
Well, you are definitely lekker. Let's just put it that way. What I learned recently from a batch of homebrew with my homebrew club, we made a milk stout, and when we would get in the first runnings off into the boil from the mash, it wasn't black. It was meant to be black, but it was coming out brown. And we were like, do we add in more black malt, some roasted barley now, or what should we do? And I just remember, I think we agreed on the decision to just stick to the recipe. You can only really change something, it's weird, like after you finish, because then you can adjust the next recipe.
Yeah.
So we said, just stick to this recipe and follow it to a T. And then when we racked last week, it was coming out beautifully in a black color, dark.
Really?
So it's obviously you've obviously just got to stick to that. If you whatever software you're using, you got to stick to that recipe.
But it's also,
because it's also I suppose every brewer's got his own feeling of his brewery and what works, what doesn't work.
But what I've also learned a lot from my master brewing consultant, paperwork. Like, you have to document everything. So now that we've got this thing,
Yeah.
I've understood. Like, okay, I only use this much, and now we are, I've got my documentation. I've got my folder that says on this day I brewed this beer, and I've used this much of everything, and at this hour, ESCOM kicked in, and I ran out of. I stopped boiling for an hour, so that if something goes wrong, or something goes right, I can say that's where the mistake was, or that actually helped. So hell's bells, if ESCOM cussed out for an hour and I was left with the boiling tin that's sitting there for an extra hour, and maybe it made it taste better, then I can be like, okay, in future I'll just switch off my machine, let it sit for an extra hour, and then I make. Because the thing is, it's about consistency. It's about making the beer taste the same for the consumer, so that when he's coming here to Happy Days, he's like,
He knows.
hey, I know that lager's lekker, eh? Let me drop it again.
Sure. What kind of people are you getting here?
Oh, but I get all types of oaks, eh?
I'd rather you dealing with them than me.
Yeah, it's lekker. You must be accepting of everyone.
You okay? You got.
Don't be a hater.
You have to be accepting, and I am accepting of you.
Belly shots for everyone.
Sure. See, you're on such a roll, and then all of a sudden,
But it's lekker.
no, it's not. Belly shots aren't lekker.
Don't you blaspheme me.
Well, mind you, after a few beers, you never know.
Oh, it's
you
fine.
never know. Let's just.
Everyone
thank
thinks
goodness
it's
this is
fun.
the last beer.
Until they wake up the next
Let's.
day.
This is a dark start.
Dog style, the
But
tribute to Guinness.
Tell me. Let's.
smell it.
I want to talk Brew in the Republic, but let's sniff this. I think people want to know what's happening with Brew in the Republic.
I really like that. Jeez.
This is a delicious. I'm getting some coffee. We're gonna jump, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna jump in between here. So just stick with us.
So
Oh,
Brewing
this
the
is
Republic,
very
the good thing
sweet
about it is, as people have known since March, I think that was our last screening, was March.
Yeah.
We've been working in the back end, just fixing up the last little bits of editing, and also just the distribution side. We have decided to actually take the bold step of submitting it to film festivals because of the feedback of the viewers, and because of the feedback we've had from the industry. Where when I say the industry, I'm talking about the film industry.
Sure.
People have actually said that we're sitting with a very good product. They're not. Look, it's not going to win an
In terms
Oscar.
of quality.
In terms of quality, it's something that's like worthwhile that you could watch on National Geographic or on BBC Food or something like that. It's like I said in all my other interviews about BTR, is that, or Brewing the Republic, acronym. Is that we didn't leave any stone unturned. We made sure that we got some of the best equipment at the time. We got some of the best shots that we could get on a very minimal budget.
Brewers, beers.
But that was South Africa for you. South Africa lends so much to film for.
Yeah.
Whether it be the natural settings, or whether it be the people, or whether it be the breweries themselves. It was South Africa, and we deserve to be put on the map.
Yeah.
The beer tourism potential is massive. The fact that just in this little area is 4 breweries in the Midlands. I mean, you can go on a beer route just here.
Yeah, just to get some people conceptual understanding of where you are.
Oh yeah.
It took me 2 hours from Durban Airport.
Yeah.
To get here. It's like driving from Cape Town to Worcester,
Yeah.
maybe to Mountain Brewing.
But if you live here,
Saggy Stone.
if you live in Durban, for instance,
Yeah.
it's an hour and 10 minutes drive.
Yeah.
Maybe 50. From Pietermaritzburg, which is another big city nearby, it's a 25-minute drive.
Okay, so it's close.
Then you've got Joburg, which is a 4.5-hour drive. You've got Free
A
State.
little bit further.
No, I've driven there. Trust me, I've driven there. Maybe I got a couple of speeding fines, but we'll see.
Free States?
But you've got Free State. Free State's about 3 hours.
How close is Clarence?
Clarence is 3 hours.
That's nice.
It is. But that's the thing, is that you've got this destination area that's got 4 styles or 4 different breweries, all brewing different styles. Like I said, I brew light beers of different styles of beer in order to create the platform of a stepping stone. I mean, you've got Notty's Brewery, which is now the oldest brewery in South Africa, because Mitchell's got bought out.
Yeah.
So they're officially the oldest ones. They're down the road. They've got history. They've got sort of innovation on their side
They
as
were
well.
open in the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think 1994.
Can't recall, but yeah.
Then you've got Lions Brewery, which is German-style brewing only. And then you've got Balgan Brewery, which is a very intimate place. And it's got a very nice little setting with a little waterfall in front of it. It's...
I don't think I've been there.
yeah, you must definitely go. This is the beauty about this little beer route.
Yeah.
We're quite far away from each other. And, you know, you wouldn't think that it's clever to have so many breweries in, like, a pod. But because of how different we all are, it's amazing that you could go on this route and spend an entire day out and just be like, yes, like, that's like it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm all for that. And I think it's more brewers need to adopt that mentality in terms of a collective beer group, because
there's enough people out there to drink.
It's happening in Franschhoek, it's happening in certain pockets in Gauteng. You see it happening where people will spend a day and go and visit these places.
But
I'm trying to recall how we got into this.
No, we were talking about South Africa and how it lends towards filming. And how easy it is.
Brewing the BTR.
Brewing the Republic. So
we've submitted to some...
We've submitted to TIFF.
International Film
Toronto
Festival.
International Film Festival.
Well, let's not say it just yet. Maybe we'll just like...
Oh, well, we submitted it. I mean... we submitted... No.
So we're waiting for the feedback on that, but then
we submitted to festivals
we've agreed
in order to get recognition.
We've agreed that September, October it needs to go out.
Yes. I'm vehemently do not want
big word.
I know, right? I got the toilet paper. That's big words over there. I vehemently cannot, for the life of me, think that if we do not produce this onto a video on demand platform, whether it be YouTube, Amazon, Netflix, by October, we've done a disgrace to the brewing, or disservice, shall I say. A disservice to ourselves and a disservice to the brewing community.
Yeah.
Because I'm so passionate about the project itself. I love it. I am so keen to do another one. I cannot wait to do another one. Whether we get the recognition for this or not, I think it's definitely worth a series of South African beer culture and how to, you know, just to adopt it and to portray it the best way possible, because it's not just your fancy smashy breweries. It's not your. The culture is so different for everyone.
There's a much bigger message behind it, but I think you and I can batter each other up. I think it's up to the viewers to actually just go watch it and let us know what you think. So I know we're teasing you with actually going to watch it, but I can assure you, once it's live and available to the public,
it's not like we don't want to show people.
We're going to overwhelm people in terms of advertising on Facebook and all the social media.
Yeah, and it's going to be very irritating. Those
we're going
to
have you at a
Let
robot.
me see what Jenny's doing on Facebook. Oh, what's this stupid Brewing the Republic, man? Get away!
No, but
Another ad! Get away!
No.
Jenny! And then actually, Jenny's watched it.
I don't know where you come up with this stuff.
So, Jenny, was that movie good?
No, stop talking about Jenny. Stop talking about Jenny. Let's get back to the beers at hand.
It was really good.
She's commented. Look at you getting me involved.
2 likes.
This...
Who liked it? It was Roscoe and Troy.
I wonder if these beers are 4.6 or maybe 6.4.
These are 4.9.
This start is probably my favorite.
I also like it.
But I'm a bit biased because I like my dark beers. I like my stouts. But this has got a nice chocolate. It's got a coffee.
You won. Well, you came second in the first ever Homebrewers competition? Was it the second one?
Hilton and I came second in our first homebrew competition for Southeasters. It wasn't the first Southeasters.
Wasn't it the second?
I can't recall, but it was.
I remember tasting that stout, or what was it? Was it a stout?
Yeah, it was a stout. It was a chocolate.
And I
coffee
was
stout.
like, yes, like that is
Delicious.
lekker. That was about 8 years ago.
2012.
I'm pretty good. 7 years ago.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for people listening, Master Brown was on the previous episode of Hashtag Beer Time.
Hi, Hilty. Oh, sorry. Hi, Hilty. Where's your camera?
That's a freaking mic. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see that when Roscoe and I hang out, it's a wonder that any work gets done. Roscoe, I think we've done pretty good here with these beers. You've definitely hit the nail on the head here with look. My favorite beers were the lager and the stout.
Thank you.
I think the lager and the stout was. That's my beer that I come back and
Oh,
drink.
yes, like
That's my beer. I know what I'm drinking. And
But different strokes for different folks.
exactly. But that's what we said earlier. Like you've got this option now available for different people, for people wanting, even if they want a lager, if they want to start, if they want an ale. But I think you're on a good wicket. I think you're on a good innings here, and I think you're located in probably the most beautiful part of the country. I know I give you a lot of shit about coming from KZN, but I will say that I'll say officially on Hashtag Beer Time that this is probably the most beautiful brewery in South Africa. It's
just like that's a big endorsement right there, hey?
Yeah, dude, you must wait.
If it's Hashtag Beer Time endorsing me, bro, that's huge.
Yeah. No, so if you do have an opportunity to visit the Midlands, the KZN Midlands, it's beautiful out here. This brewery is located about 5 minutes from Nottingham Road, and it's just, we're looking out now. The sun is setting.
I mean, it's on your face.
It's beautiful.
I'm doing
if you're watching, you can see. But Roscoe, I think, is there anything else besides the hand puppets and gestures that you're making? Is there anything that you would like to say to the guests and people listening? Bear in mind, this is going out worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Tickle, 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 tickle. No, I just want people to, obviously, predominantly the listeners are already beer drinkers. For those who are still educating themselves, do your best. Put yourself out there. Taste the most ridiculous beers. I know a lot of breweries in Cape Town are always brewing something different and new. If you ever get a chance, come say how's it. Come and enjoy
a belly
beer.
shot.
If you really want a belly shot, we'll talk about it. Depends on what time of the
you
day.
Might start something, a new craze.
But mostly, I hope you guys appreciate the documentary. Thank you so much for being so patient. I know it's been a few months since we promised to let it out, but all good things come to those who wait, and I hope we
and wait they shall for something good.
I mean, this wasn't built in one day.
He's touching his belly, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is a good place to say goodbye and to say thank you. Don't worry, Roscoe, I won't be saying goodbye to you. So
Thank you.
No. Thank you. You can stop touching me now.
No, this leg is mine now.
Your hands are very warm, which is very creepy.
It's the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in, for choosing us. Hashtag Beer Time. And Roscoe, dare I say it, we'll probably have you back on the show again.
Yay! It's the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and we will see you again soon. Cheers.
Lekker.
Look at that, eh?